What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. It's the video you've all been waiting for. 2016 Sleepers and Bust. Here we go. I'm gonna go through sleepers and busts for each position, even defense and kicker. You know how I like to do it. But before I do, make sure you guys check out my top 300 cheat sheet. You can print it out, view it. If you're having an offline draft, it is 100% must to have it out. So go ahead and click here. You can pause, the video will pause automatically. Print it out before draft day. I even highly recommend it if you're doing an online draft, but if you're doing an in-person draft, it's an absolute must, so go ahead and download that right now. Okay, let's go into the QB sleepers. Now that we know that Tyler Eifert's gonna miss 4 to 6 weeks, and on top of that, the Bengals have a week 9 bye, so he can miss 7 games, and you know, he's injury prone, so he can miss more than that. So because of that, and he's a touchdown guy over there. Because of that, Andy Dalton moves from my QB 12 ranking to my QB 16 ranking. And he's still on this list, but we'll get into that later. With the small chance of Victor Cruz coming back and still playing, and Sterling Shepard, and of course ODB, remember, he's only in his 3rd year. Eli Manning has to be on this list. I think there's tremendous value later in the draft for QBs like Eli Manning. He's going as a QB9. I have him as a QB9. So it's not technically a huge sleeper, but I have to put him on this list because you can get great value at quarterback. People are reaching for guys like Roethlisberger and Tom Brady, and I think you get way better value with Eli Manning. You can get him later in the draft. Sometimes he slips to round 9, maybe even round 10. That's when you swoop him. Phillip Rivers is actually a guy who's heavily slept on. He's being drafted at QB 11, and I have him as my QB 8. Him and Eli Manning I have just about tied, but I like Chargers' schedule just a tad more. With the addition of Travis Benjamin, Antonio Gates should still be doing his thing, and Keenan Allen back from injury. Phillip Rivers had the most pass attempts last year, and he should be more efficient this year and throw the ball a little bit more downfield because Travis Benjamin is that great deep threat. Probably my most favorite guy on this list is Tyrod Taylor. Super sleeper, going at QB 15. But I have him at QB 11, and there's only one thing about Tyrod Taylor that's a risk, and it's very significant. But he's going to be better this year as far as playing better, you know, as far as an NFL quarterback, not just fantasy. He's going to probably throw the ball more this year. He's just going to take strides this year. Trust me on that. What's holding him back, though, is if Charles Clay gets hurt, Sammy Watkins, one of the most injury-prone receivers, if he gets hurt, and Shady McCoy, I love how that guy catches the ball for a running back. And just, if those guys get hurt, it's going to heavily affect Tyrod Taylor. But I really like this guy. I think he can definitely be a QB1 this year. In deeper leagues, I'd be very comfortable taking him as a QB1. Andy Dalton. I'm on the bandwagon of hating this guy now that we got the Tyler Eifert news, but he still makes my sleeper list, and that's because I also expect his ADP to drop. And you're not going to even draft Dalton as a QB1. For a QB2, so when bye weeks are hitting or when, you know, unfortunate QB injury happens to your QB1, you got Dalton on your bench with Eifert possibly back. That's going to be a great QB2. And just like all these guys on this list, don't reach for them because this is my sleeper list. Only draft them when they're slept on. And Dalton, I honestly see him in 10-man leagues and possibly 12-man leagues going undrafted, or kickers, defenses being drafted before this guy. So I think he's going to be an absolute steal. Definitely not reaching for him. And I probably wouldn't even draft him at QB 18 where his ADP is right now. I expect his ADP to drop even lower than QB 18 now that we got the news just recently that Tyler Eifert's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks because of the injury. And the least sexiest name on this list definitely has to go to Alex Smith. He's being taken at QB 26. You know what that means? That means he's going undrafted in 12-man leagues. I have him as my QB 20. This guy finished QB 15 or QB 16, depending on your settings last year. He's good. They're going to need to throw the ball more. They got rid of Sean Smith, their starting cornerback. Their pass rushers are always hurt. I think Andy Reid and Alex Smith are starting to realize a little bit that we're going to have to throw the ball more. We're going to have to give Travis Kelce some red zone looks. Throw the ball to Jeremy Maclin, one of the most talented wide receivers in this league. So Alex Smith, I love him as a late round QB2, just as a safety pick. Now, it's not that great of a pick because we like to pick guys with upside when we take flyers, but keep that in mind, especially if you're in a 14-man or 16-man league. That's going to be a great QB2 for you that you can get way late in the draft. And before we look at our running back sleepers, I just wanted to take note, the reason why I'm not going by round, when I do my ADP and my rankings, when I'm mentioning it right now, I'm going QB 20, QB 26 instead of round 14, round 16, which that is important. I just want to emphasize that the overall rankings is not that important. Your overall ranking, so when you figure out maybe your top 10, top 12 players, whatever, let's say you got the 7th round pick, you figure out your top 7 players, you spend a lot of time for that. It's really important. The overall rankings is really important for the first round. After that, it's different. Let's say you draft a quarterback. Who cares where the other quarterbacks are ranked overall? Let's say you picked a defense. Who cares where the other defenses are ranked overall? Or let's say you drafted Gronk in the 2nd round, or maybe you're lucky enough to get him in early in the 3rd round. Who cares where the other tight ends are? Because you know you're probably not going to draft a tight end for the next 10 rounds. So that's why I like to emphasize and go by position. And also I'm emphasizing tiers this year quite a bit. You want to make sure you draft if let's say quarterback, like I have Tyrod Taylor. After Tyrod Taylor, I think there's a significant drop off of quarterbacks because he's the last quarterback ranked in his tier. So I may draft Tyrod Taylor just so nobody else gets him. That's the strategy you want to do. Don't leave a high-tiered or the highest-tiered player in that position out on the draft board for your opponents to draft. Okay, that was a quick little strategy right there. Let's go into the running back sleepers. Ezekiel Elliott. I have him tied with Le'Veon Bell, and this is basically more of a strategy thing. If you like Le'Veon Bell, you think you're going to be able to work it out with him because he's suspended the first 3 games and he's a little bit injury prone, then that's okay. I have no problem you ranking him earlier. The thing is he's going running back 5. I have him more of a running back 3. I mean, in a 12-man league, you got what, a 92% chance you're going to lose. You might as well go out swinging and draft the running back with the most potential. I mean, I definitely had to rank David Johnson ahead of him. And in standard leagues, I think you should draft Adrian Peterson ahead of him. And even in PPR, you may want to do that as well. But Ezekiel Elliott, potential, the ceiling is just off the charts. He's a talented running back. The risk is there for sure, but I had him ranked before I watched him play in this preseason game too, by the way. I had him as RB3. I would definitely target him in the first round. I like to target him more towards the end of the first round, but I'm definitely targeting him there. And I got to draft Julio, ODB, and Antonio Brown before him, no doubt. No doubt. That's why I'm saying more towards the end of the first round, but I'm definitely taking him in the first. Eddie Lacy's going as RB11. I got him as RB8. Now, the thing with this is that a lot of people have Jordy ranked fairly high. A lot of people have Aaron Rodgers ranked as QB1 or QB2. So, basically what you're saying is that Packers offense is going to be on fire. If that Packers offense is just logic, basic logic here. If that Packers offense is on fire, if they're going to be high octane like we think, you know, up there with the Cardinals, maybe the most highest octane offense this year, then Eddie Lacy is going to have to go up on your draft board too. Luckily, I was able to get him for super cheap in my Instagram Experts League. That draft was July 11th, I believe. July 11th, actually July 10th. So that was an early draft. I was lucky enough to get him super late in that draft. I think I got him in round 3. So that's awesome right there. I definitely would draft Eddie Lacy in round 2. That's going to be a great running back. I see him finishing as an RB1, definitely. One guy that's being slept on just a little bit is Carlos Hyde. I think Chip Kelly is going to bring out the best in this offense. Niners, I'm a Niner fan, but the Niners are not a great team. I still think they can be and they should be better than the Eagles were in 2015. I think Carlos Hyde's going to be a great running back. I'm a little bit concerned if he's going to be used on a lot of, he's going to be targeted in the passing game a lot. I think he's going to get a good amount of targets, but I don't know if he's going to get a ton. Also a little bit concerned with his injury. So there is risk there. And that's why I say, and I reiterate, if he slips, if people sleep on him, that's when you draft him. James White, this is another guy, this is a crazy one right here. In non-PPR leagues, he's almost a late round flyer basically. In PPR leagues, I have him ranked pretty high. I have him as RB19 in PPR leagues. And one reason I really like this guy on my sleeper list is because Dion Lewis is very, very injured. He's injury prone. He's hurt right now. Going to miss around 8 weeks. And what would you be surprised, okay, if you got news that Dion Lewis is going to miss another 3 weeks or something like that, or he gets re-injured? That is a high probability chance of happening. So that's why I like James White a lot. Now, why he's one reason where this is kind of the wild card, probably the most wild card player I have on this list, is because people can reach for him maybe. Now that we have word that Dion Lewis is going to miss time, people may reach for him. He could also go possibly undrafted in a 10-man league. You never know. So that's why I have this guy on this list, but be wary. Don't reach for him. I see him as a mid-round draft pick, especially in PPR. I could draft him maybe as high as round 7 in a 12-man PPR. Christine Michael is a sleeper, and this one is not a big deal. A lot of people who keep up with the NFL, watch preseason, look at rankings, they'll know about Christine Michael. I just like the upside here. If Rawls, who's already hurt, goes down, I don't think they have a choice. I think Christine Michael becomes a first and second down back, and it's on a team that likes to run the ball. Russell Wilson's going to throw the ball a little bit more this year, but I like the potential with Christine Michael, and if you can get him in round 11 or something, which is not unlikely in a 12-man, that's a good spot to take him. And my last guy on my running back sleepers list is more of a handcuff, but be wary if you draft Todd Gurley. I think this handcuff may be worth it if you have a deep bench, because Benny Cunningham is going undrafted. So you can get him with your last pick, your second to last pick, and I like him a little bit more in PPR leagues. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit, little variation with this list, some more deep league guys, some more PPR guys, non-PPR guys, and also some handcuffs too. There's a ton of wide receivers, and so my wide receiver list is quite deep. I'm going to give you some deep league guys, some late round guys, some mid round guys, and even some early round guys. Sammy Watkins. Now, I mentioned that he is the most injury prone wide receiver, and he's going right now wide receiver 18, and I have him as my wide receiver 12. Now, there is huge risk here, and I wouldn't blame you if you passed up on him in round 2 or 3. Round 2 is definitely it's early. I wouldn't draft him round 2. There's definitely too much risk there. When he's healthy, when he's playing, he's going to be a beast. I guarantee you right now, if he were to play all 16 games in the regular NFL season, I guarantee it, he will be a top 12 wide receiver easily. The Bills figured out to throw the ball to Watkins and huge things will happen. That's what they figured out the second half of the season, and it was right. He was one of the best wide receivers during that stretch when the Bills were like, hey, we're going to throw to Sammy Watkins. And when Tyrod Taylor was healthy, because E.J. Manuel was horrible. One of the worst quarterbacks last year, hands down, E.J. Manuel. Gosh. Okay, check this out. Look at the sleeper rating on this guy, Jeremy Maclin. I have him as my 13th best wide receiver right after Sammy Watkins. He's going wide receiver 23. Wow, that's ridiculous. And like I said, I think the Chiefs are going to throw the ball a little bit more. Macklin's one of the most talented wide receivers. Enough said right there. He was good last year, and I have him high. I have him ranked higher than Edelman. Of course, Edelman's a better receiver in PPR, but way too much injury risk. So I really like Maclin. I think he's going to be a beast this year, and he's a great wide receiver too to have on your team. Dante Moncrief. My rankings and ADP pretty much agree. But this guy is still a sleeper because he does get slept on sometimes. It just really depends on your league. And if you're on an offline draft, these ADPs vary even more. It gets crazier when it's an in-person draft because everyone brings their own cheat sheets, their own rankings, and you never know what's going to happen, even more unexpected stuff. In our league, I think the co-founder Mike Mattal drafted him at 7th pick of the 6th round, I believe, and that's just insane. Don't pass up on Moncrief in the 5th round. The potential is so great. If you think the Colts are going to be better and Andrew Luck's going to be better, then you have to increase the stock of Moncrief as well, because that guy's going to be the second most targeted guy on that team. All the vets know about this guy, Michael Floyd. I think he's the best Cardinals receiver to draft. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to be the best receiver on that team. And it's a team that they really only use 3 receivers. They don't use the tight end much. Super high octane offense, the Cardinals offense that is. So look out for Michael Floyd. Great value in the 5th round. Torrey Smith, kind of like Moncrief. His ADP is too high for my blood. His rankings are too high for my blood as well. But a guy that's hated on an offense that's hated as far as fantasy owners go, you're able to get this guy super late in some drafts. So if he's there in the super late rounds, don't hesitate to take him. He's going to get 50 receptions this year. Chip Kelly's going to use him. He's not going to be great, but for a wide receiver 5 on your team, great sleeper pick. Devin Funchess is also another great receiver. I don't disagree with the ADP much, but he should be starting. He should receive the 3rd most targets on that team and may even receive just as many targets as Kelvin Benjamin. Now, that probably won't be true. That's what reports are kind of indicating now. Yeah, it probably won't be true, but a top 3 receiver on that team is definitely worth a late round flyer. Now, here's a guy in PPR that definitely needs to be drafted, definitely needs to be considered, Tyler Boyd. And another guy, Tajay Sharp, he's a little bit higher risk than Tyler Boyd. He's on the tight ends. He's a rookie. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a rookie too, but I see Tyler Boyd getting 70 receptions. Tajay Sharp, a little bit more risky, but he's definitely a guy you need to consider too. Philip Dorsett, basically the same thing as Moncrief. Not as good, but he can go a little later, way later than Moncrief, of course. He's a guy that slept on, might even go undrafted like in a 10-man league. So definitely a sleeper there. Don't reach for a guy like Chris Hogan, though. I see people drafting him as their wide receiver 3. You don't want to do that. He's more of a flyer. You know, if someone wants to draft him wide receiver 3, let that owner draft him there. That's too early for me. And Robert Woods, I really like this guy, but only for deep leagues. Probably not worth drafting him in a 12-man league like I did. But in a 14-man league, definitely a guy you want to consider in the last 3 rounds. And for super deep leagues, 16-man and deeper, or any leagues that are specialty leagues or whatnot, look at Jared Abbrederis. I'm sorry, I said his last name wrong, I believe. But Devontae Adams, I think Devontae Adams is going to be the number 3 wide receiver there. But Jared Abbrederis, I think that guy might be a wide receiver 4. It's really hard to see how these pan out. If Devontae Adams slacks off again like he did last year, look for Jared to take his spot. And super deep leagues again, Darius Hayward-Bay. You got Sammy Coates and Marcus Whedon. They've been slacking a little bit. We don't know what's up with Ladarius Green. I know there's another tight end there that's starting. Darius Hayward-Bay is a good deep threat. Super sleeper, super deep league though. For tight ends, I got Antonio Gates as my tight end 6. He's going at tight end 11 though. Look at Tony Gonzalez. They're very similar, I think. They're both basketball. They're the first guys to start this basketball tight end thing. And Antonio Gates, I think he's going to finish his career off well. He's being slept on heavily. Also, another bonus with Antonio Gates is that he has a week 11 bye. So if you draft a tight end 2, there's virtually no draftable tight ends who have the same bye week. So that's another small bonus when you draft Gates. Dwayne Allen, going again with the same logic. Andre Johnson's not there. Andrew Luck should get better. And also, who's not there? Kobe Fleener's not there. So there's got to be more targets. Andrew Luck likes to spread the ball, but there's only 4 real fantasy targets right there. You got Hilton, then Moncrief, then you got Dwayne Allen and Dorsett. So I think Dwayne Allen is going to be an incredible steal late in the draft. if he stays healthy. So a little bit of risk right there. Zach Miller is a sleeper tight end, and tight ends are so deep. See, that's the thing, is that I really like Zach Miller. I really like the sleeper potential, but you know, I'd really rather have Antonio Gates. I trust him a lot more, so I'd rather get Antonio Gates a couple rounds. You know, if you wait 2 or 3 rounds, later you can get Zach Miller. I think Antonio Gates is worth picking a tight end 2 rounds before Zach Miller and being solid. But, you know, if you're in a super deep league or something, Zach Miller may be able to roll with him as a tight end 1. I still think he's a sleeper. I have him as tight end 12, and he's going as tight end 16. Jared Cook, this is an obvious sleeper. You see the potential here if he's the tight end 1 in the Green Bay Packers offense, but also probably the most riskiest tight end. Now, my biggest sleeper on this list has to be Vance McDonald. I have him as tight end 11. He's going tight end 21. That means he's going undrafted in most leagues. And I think the potential is great there. Now, the Niners don't have a lot of receivers. I think Chip Kelly's going to have to utilize a tight end spot this year and going to have to go with Vance McDonald. I think he's going to be one of the most targeted players on that offense that likes to run plays quick, likes to run the high-tempo offense. So look out for Vance McDonald. I see him getting some red zone looks. I see him making plays all over the field. He's an overall good tight end. Definitely worth a tight end 2 spot. And my last sleeper, who is more, this is a deep league sleeper. Don't draft him in a 12-man league. Maybe not even in a 14-man league, except maybe as a tight end 2 in a 14-man league. Virgil Green. If he's the starting tight end for the Denver Broncos, who knows? Maybe he can do something. I just wanted to put that out there because he might be super slept on. You know, if you're in a 16-man league, might be a good tight end 2 for you. For defenses, let's try to go through this quicker. I got the Bengals D. I think it's a great value pick because they are slept on in a lot of leagues. And for the first week, you want to look at the Vikings defense. They play the Titans, and also the Eagles defense. They play the Browns. So depending where you can get it. Now with defenses, you don't want to draft them too early, right? So Vikings might get slept on. Eagles go undrafted. So if you're doing that, picking up a defense because of the matchup every week, you know, rotating it out, I like the Eagles defense this week, and they play the Browns week 1, then they play the Bears week 2. So that's why I like the Eagles defense. And in deeper leagues, as a super sleeper, I like the Raiders D. The reason a lot of potential, a lot of risk with the Raiders defense. The reason I hate the Raiders defense, truly hate them, is because just a week 1, they play the Saints. Vegas has that game being the highest scoring game of week 1. I haven't checked it recently, but it was by far the highest scoring game in week 1. And when that happens, you usually want to avoid that defense. For kickers, I actually have Steven Hauschka as my top-rated kicker. I think he's going to be a steal in drafts, depending if he gets him late. I always love to draft a kicker in the very last round, and I highly recommend you do. Definitely don't draft a kicker until the last 2 rounds, and I'll tell everyone to draft him in the very last. Dan Bailey could be a top 6, top 5 kicker this year. Chandler Catanzaro, only reason I don't like this guy, I mean, everything adds up. High-octane offense, kicking in a dome a lot of the time, blah, blah, blah. So awesome. The only reason I don't like it because Bruce Arians is a jerk, and he loves to go in the end zone, loves to get touchdowns. That guy he never lets off the gas pedal. So that's the only reason I don't like him. Kind of like the Steelers kicker, if they're going for a lot of 2-point conversions. Only reason I wouldn't like picking the Steelers kicker. And my super sleeper kicker this year, guys, is Sebastian Janikowski. I may have mentioned him on previous videos and previous tweets. That's my super sleeper kicker. Definitely draft him in the last round, maybe towards the end of the draft. No one's going to really draft this guy except a super Raider fan. I really think there's a lot of risk, a lot of potential in leagues that reward more points for 40-plus, 50-plus field goals. He's going to be even more valuable. And just a note, do not draft Josh Brown, the Giants kicker. He suspended the first game. It's stupid to have 2 kickers on your team, except if you're in a weird league with weird settings. I don't know. But don't draft Josh Brown, basically. And for my busts. Now, keep in mind that some of these busts I would draft if they slipped a lot. The problem is that there's almost no chance that they're going to slip to where I like them. Some of these busts I completely avoid, but almost all of them I would actually draft if they slept, if owners slept on them, but they'd have to drop quite a bit. Let's start off with Ben Roethlisberger. Now, this guy, if you look at his stats last year, he didn't do that good. There's actually only one guy who he threw to that did some things, and that's Antonio Brown. So I don't see a ton of touchdowns. I don't see a ton of rushing yards. I think he's being overdrafted way too high. And there's just so much value at quarterback. You got Eli Manning, Rivers, all those other guys. And the main reason I have him on my list is some people have him as quarterback 6. I mean, sometimes 5, but a lot of times QB 6 and QB 7. He's just not that high as far as quarterbacks go. Tom Brady, great quarterback, but you know he's not going to play 5 games, including the bye week. He's got the toughest schedule for as far as fantasy quarterbacks go. So I just avoid him basically in drafts. In a 12-man league, I would like to draft him in round 11. The problem is he's being drafted way too early. People take him round 7, and I just wouldn't do it. He's going way too early for me. You have to draft him and another quarterback, and it's just going to be hectic. He's basically off my draft board, and by round 11, I probably already have a quarterback anyway. If it were to pair up good with Tom Brady and he's available in round 11 or 12, I might take him. So you have to really, if you do take Tom Brady, okay, I'm not going to be mad. It's okay. Just make sure the quarterback is good during Tom Brady's bye week. Make sure the other quarterback you pick has a decent schedule for the first 4 weeks, because I would hate to have it be a disaster. Tom Brady sucks when you don't start the other guy, and then the first 4 weeks you start the other guy and he sucks. So you want to avoid that situation. That's why I just avoid it altogether. And get out your keyboards, get your typing fingers ready. For my running back bust, I got Todd Gurley. And this guy is one of the most talented running backs in the league. One of my most favorite running backs to watch play. He's got a pretty high floor, meaning that we know he's going to get a ton of carries. The issue is, there's 2 issues though. I think he's going to get beat up, like really beat up. I don't think he's going to be able to take that pounding of a Rams running back like Steven Jackson did. So he's going to get run to the ground. He's going to get beat up. The defenses are not going to respect the throwing game, the passing game that much. And I think they're going to stack the box. So I think the ceiling is not that high for Todd Gurley. I would draft him super early in the 2nd round, but he's not making it that far. He's getting drafted in the 1st round. So if he does make it to the 2nd round, feel free to take him, but I would not take him in the first half of the 1st round. I would not do that. And I have Lamar Miller. I see the potential of Lamar Miller just like you guys, but with their the injuries to their offensive line, and I'm just not that high on Lamar Miller. There's other guys that are better that I would draft, and people have him ranked as like RB5 or RB6, and that's just insane. Knock him down a couple ranks. Don't take him. Some people will take this guy in the 1st round. I don't know now maybe if they didn't hear about the O-line injuries, but don't take him in the 1st round. I'll tell you that, and it's a guy that I'm probably not even taking in round 2 now. Alshon Jeffrey's on this list because of 2 things. Well, 3 things. Injury prone, he's got Jay Cutler, and he's on the Bears. Other than that, he's an awesome receiver. Definitely wide receiver 1 potential, but just too much risk for me to take him in round 2, which some people are so high on him. I just wouldn't do it. There's a ton of other players I can take. Definitely taking Gronk over him, for example. I just would pass him up. He's being drafted too early. Also, Demaryius Thomas is, look at this. Is that the worst quarterback situation in the league right now? The Denver Broncos. They got Lynch, who's probably has the highest potential, but he's not quite ready to start. Trevor Siemian, Mark Sanchez. I don't know. Demaryius Thomas is talented. He'll still be good this year. Just don't draft him expecting wide receiver 1 potential, or draft him as a high-end wide receiver 2. Don't do that. To me, He's a wide receiver 3 that's going as a wide receiver 2. That's why he's a bust. And Kelvin Benjamin wraps up my wide receiver bust list. He's just going to be too touchdown dependent, like a poor man's Mike Evans. And I like him maybe in round 5, round 6 ideally. And I know that's harsh and that's way too late. He won't last. Cam Newton and the Panthers, they don't throw the ball that much. They're more of a running team. And Kelvin Benjamin doesn't get the touchdowns like we saw with Mike Evans last year. Mike Evans didn't get the touchdowns. He didn't do that great. If Kelvin Benjamin doesn't get double-digit touchdowns, he's not going to have that wide receiver 1 potential. I also see more of a wide receiver 3. I basically have him off my draft board because he's not going to slip to round 6 like where I want him. For tight ends, Julius Thomas is on my list, and just because of the injury proneness, I mean, he's never finished, he's never played 16-game season. He's always hurt. And I have guys like Antonio Gates ahead of him. So he may be good as a tight end too if he slips, but I just don't like the risk there. Definitely do not reach for him, and definitely don't have him as a top 5 or top 6 tight end on your rankings. That's a no-no. And Tyler Eifert. So we already mentioned him. This is pretty obvious. I already talked about him. He's going to miss 4 to 6 NFL games because of the injury he has right now, okay? He's got a week 9 bye. So that's already 5 to 7 games he's not going to play. He's going to be on your bench. And that's when bye weeks hit. You're going to need that bench spot. So he has a little bit more value in IR leagues if you can get him as a late round flyer. And on top of that, he's one of the more injury prone tight ends. So if he misses 5 games, 6 games, and then he gets hurt too, I mean, that's basically the whole season. So the risk is just so high. And plus he's got to, get more acclimated. He's still kind of new in that offense. He hasn't played that many NFL games. He hasn't started as a tight end on that team that much. So the risk is just too much. Probably best to avoid him, or leagues with deep benches and with IR spots and deeper leagues. It's okay he's okay as a tight end too. And as a kicker, I got Stephen Gostkowski as a bust. Not because he's terrible, but I think this year just might be the first year he doesn't finish as the best kicker, and this goes to the people that reach for Stephen Gostkowski. So if you draft him in round 10, round 11, round 12 that early, or even some people draft him earlier, I would not do this, as he's not even the best ranked kicker on my draft board, and that's why I'm putting him there. I would love to get Stephen Gostkowski in the last round, but that doesn't happen. People reach for him every year, and that's why he makes my bust list. And those are all my sleepers and busts. If you guys did not watch our 2016 draft party and our draft results video, make sure you guys watch it right now. It's the best draft party in the world. Video is off the charts. You get to see everyone's team, including mine, pick by pick, get to see the first round recorded, bloopers, how we get down, how we host the best draft party in the world. It's a much watched video. I kept it a little bit shorter than previous years, so you have to see that. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel so you won't be late on any future videos I come out with. I know getting that bust list hard was really hard for me. I know there's going to be a lot of comments below. It's okay. Let me know if I missed any sleepers, or if I said any busts that were a no-no that you're highly offended of. Let me know. Like the video, leave a comment below. I love to hear what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.